Hi, folks. You are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our channels and networks. I'm Mike Morales here in the armpit of the San Gabriel Valley in Southern California. That guy out there is
Eric Zandona in Florida's Emerald Coast.
ooh, damn. That just sounds decadent. The Emerald.
It sounds a lot nicer than Crestview, so I just thought make it nicer.
Okay. Today, Eric and I have a really distinct pleasure of dissecting a brand new startup mezcal. Now, we call it a startup, but it has pedigree, okay? And as we go along, you'll be able to, we'll tell you the ins and outs. This is called Salvadores, Mezcal Artesanal. And I'm so looking forward to this one because it's a Carwinski. Yeah, baby. We did nominate it for Brand of Promise in packaging. I love they're using agave paper. All the information you need is on the back. It's very tactile, clean lines. You know, what do they say? Elegance, simplicity is the best elegance, something like that. This is really indicative of that. Not you look at it, not busy, not you know, it's not going to scream at you from the shelves, but you're going to want to touch it, and if you touch it, you're going to want it. Okay, so I like that. I'm very tactile, if you haven't noticed. So anyway, we're going to pour this in. I'm going to use my Stasso Jarrito for mezcal. Yeah, this was a really tough one. I had to take the wrap off camera, and then I couldn't pop the cork. It was like really tight on there. You and I have had these samples for what, a few weeks now? By the time you're watching this, folks, this is only January for us. You may not see this until April. Okay, so we probably got this at the tail end of 2021, after our Brands of Promise cut off in 2021. But we fell in love with the Espadín, and you know what? This Carwinski, just as bright and shiny. Eric, mention again about the waxiness we're talking about. Was that on the smell or the look? Because it's got a lot of body right now. You can see.
No, I was in the last episode about their Espadín. I think it was more in the aroma. You get the sort of, there was this like character to the aroma that was hard to pin down. It was slightly fatty, slightly waxy. It was a little bit beguiling, but really lovely with the rest of the aroma profile. So I think that's mostly coming out in the aroma, but this has like a great clarity to it. It's just
it's all, you know, mezcals that are made. This is they're calling it artisanal, but this is a higher ABV, correct?
Yeah, this is 48% ABV or 96 proof.
96 proof. So it's more in line with what Eric and I have been used to, because I keep throwing Eric the kitchen sink, and he and I have done so many mezcals and raicillas together, and you know, everything that's not mainstream. Although we're lucky if we get a really great tequila, you know. But the reason I do this with Eric is because his palate is so wide that I just let you take the lead and you tell me what I'm smelling, because I'll interject, you know. But there's certain things that he pulls out that I have not experienced yet, and so for me, especially with a new brand like this, you know, I want it, and I throw it in his direction because I know he'll pull out stuff that we'll know why this new startup is so unique, you know, or if it's just mainstream and kind of falls in line with what we're used to, right? So now this is a much denser nose, that is indicative of the plant itself.
So right off the bat, you get this like really intense, like bright, fresh cut grass.
Right.
So to me, there's a lot of fun stuff going on here. And this is one of the things I love about whether it's mezcal or sometimes with sotol, you get the aroma is like evocative of these like moments in time that you may have had or just imagined. So to me, I'm just like thinking about like one of those days where you've cut the lawn in the summer and there's that fresh cut grass aroma.
Yep.
Just to me, at the same time, there's this like really rich like sweetness going on like underneath that bright like grassy character. And to me, it just like all I can think of is like if you took a break while you're mowing your lawn and you're like having a chocolate bar, like there's this sweetness under there.
You know why I'm laughing?
I'm tired, I'm hot.
Yeah.
Back.
I'm laughing in delight, and I'll tell you why. Because when a lot of people, Eric and I know this and we understand this, but many of the aromas and they do this in the perfume industry. They know this already, but many aromas that we pull out of here are the element that's closely related to memory banks is aromas, smells. Yeah. Smells will evoke a memory. And that's what it's designed to do. Okay, that's what smells do. The perfume industry knows this. That's why perfumes exist, right? Yeah. So because they know it plays on a individual person's memory bank. Okay, and so to hear Eric's description, how many of us have mowed the lawn? It's hot, middle of summer. When I was a kid, I used to mow the lawn here, at this house. And with a bad lawnmower and there wasn't the grass wasn't as thick as it is now. I was inhaling dirt and it was middle of summer because you're a kid, right? You don't know any better.
Right.
And I understand, I get that memory. I understand it. And the fact that he's relating that to this mezcal is it's delightful because that's a descriptor, folks. That's as valid a descriptor as what you read in the pages of Wine Spectator, okay? Because it belongs to you. You own that descriptor, just like Eric owns that memory. So it's just as valid. Don't think that you're, because you can't, it reminds me of blue cheese and, it's got the aroma of pate and what. You know what? The descriptor that's more valid is the one that you bring up, the one that you understand that evokes a memory. And when I learned it years ago. I was conducting a tequila tasting at my home in Albuquerque when I lived there. And we had a series of extrañejos. One gentleman spoke up and he was delighted. The look on his face was so funny. It was like he was a little kid again. He goes, "This reminds me of running through my grandmother's lilac bushes." The aroma he got evoked a memory of him running through lilac bushes when he was a kid. That is a valid descriptor. That's what it's designed to do. So I get what you're saying. In my case, what I'm smelling like a savoriness. You're getting brightness. I'm getting like a savoriness, like it's almost like a soup, like a pechuga for me, almost. Now that it's opening up, I'm getting the brightness you were getting, a little bit of the anise, just a touch, not a lot. I'm sorry, I had to go there with descriptors because
no, that's great. I know. I think that's one thing that's really important too. This is for me like one of the things that's really fun about drinking spirits, right? Is it like a spirit can bring you back to these memories, right? It can open up that sense aroma, right? It's not just like, oh, I like the taste and but it can bring back those fond memories of other times.
Yes.
Or even fond memories of not so pleasant times, like mowing the lawn in the summer heat.
Right. Yeah, because that was, literally that was unpleasant.
Yeah.
But the fact that we did it and we have that shared memory in common. Okay. Yeah. That's what unites us with this. And that's the beauty of these agave spirits, and probably all spirits, but I mean, for me, primarily, it's the agave spirits that we deal with. because especially with mezcals, because they're so diverse. You know, every plant, we talked about this in the previous discussion, in the previous review, the hand of the maker, the microclimate, the altitude, everything, you know, how closely the pencas are shaved to the pina, all that adds to the final product, which is what we're drinking here. And so all of it, the region, all of it makes a difference. They're all ingredients.
Right. All right, should we dive in?
Let's dive in. Let's do it.
Cheers. Oh yeah.
Okay. This is the first Karwinski that I've had that doesn't have that dense flavor profile. To me, it's actually much brighter than I expected. I have had Karwinskis where they're medleys, where they're, you know, where they're blended with Mezcalin.
Yeah.
This is not, and I'm getting the same kind of duality. Okay.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. For me, this has a lot of the classic hallmarks of a Karwinski. So what makes Karwinskis different, as many of you probably know, is that they tend to grow vertically. So they're like really tall. And so they have a big stem that's kind of woody. And because of that woody stem, it imparts a lot more like herbaceousness, a lot more
fibrousness, things like that.
All that sort of stuff. So to me, this flavor has that real kind of classic sort of slight, not woody as in like oak wood, but that kind of vegetal.
Right. I call it paper. It's like a agave paper. You know, you could probably digest agave paper much easier than when you were a kid eating paper, right? You know, like notebook paper, because that's all pot. But you know, I noticed also on the palate there's much more pepperiness. It's got a much longer finish. I love this finish.
It has a really nice warmth that just completely like coats your palate. Though. It's like, whereas the Espadín was really clean, really clear, and had this lightness to it, this has a really long, broad and long finish.
Yes.
Kind of lingers there. It's slightly warm, but not hot. So it's not astringent. It's not too like overpowering with the alcohol, but it has this really pleasant, like menthol warmth that you get out of it.
This is this is medication, man. This is medicine. You know, this is in fact, the way you described it reminded me of the pinas. If you look, folks, if you search through Instagram and see some of the different growers who are harvesting Karwinski, they look like, the pinas look like logs. Okay, they look like wood logs
or giant matchsticks sometimes.
Yeah. And the way you described this whole thing reminded me of the log, you know, the pina itself. And I'm not even getting minimal wood. I mean, there's hardly no alcohol on the nose. You can't detect the smoke. If you do, it's going to be on your palate because it's all secondary, tertiary. It's like an afterthought. Okay.
So I think, to me, like the flavor profile really kind of leads with that herbaceousness, and then underneath there's like elements of like lemon zest. There's a slight sweetness there, and like on the aroma, I got this sort of like, again, like under the initial like grassiness, this sort of like chocolatey character to it, cacao character, but so there's a lot going on here, and you just sit with it and let it open. And this one, so one thing I have noticed with some mezcals is that the flavor profile it expresses will change a lot with temperature. And so I think that this would be a good example. So like if you put it in a brandy snifter and like just kind of held it in your palm for a while and let it warm up, I'm sure those aromas would really open and you get a lot more interesting stuff going.
I again, let's just get into the ins and outs. While we do that, give the family history, because you seem to really give it the good Reader's Digest version.
Yeah. Yeah. So like we said with the Espadín, so Salvadores Mezcal was created by a husband and wife team, Salvador and Flor Palacios. And, unlike other mezcal brands where you have some people who are disconnected from the industry, sort of discover it and decide, oh, I want to create a mezcal brand. Salvador's family has a tradition in Mexico of making mezcal. His grandfather back in the 1930s, who was a mezcalero, left Mexico for California, and his family lived there. And that's a common story for lots of people from Mexico. But in around 2005, Salvador and his wife decided to buy some land outside Tlacalula, which is in Oaxaca, Mexico. And they're now working with a distiller there, Flavio Perez
Mendez.
Yeah. And so he's the distiller for them. And so their family is sort of reconnecting to the heritage that his grandfather had. And so I think that's, again, I've mentioned this before, I think that's one of the fun things, the cool things that we see with mezcal that you don't see with other spirits, is that where there's been this long sort of tradition or migration for labor from Mexico to the US,
right?
Mezcal is actually pulling people back to Mexico, to their traditions, to their ancestral villages, so that they can reconnect and have an industry to support their family and the families of many other people in their towns.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Salvadores has succeeded. And folks, this is really it. We have a price point, correct, from Old Town Tequila?
Yeah. So for the Cirial, this is retailing for about $100, depending on your region and store, but about $100. So,
and you know what?
Which is, I would say, right in the middle of the price point for this type of spirit.
And the quality is there. You're getting everything. You're getting the region. You're getting the hand of the maker. You're getting a history, a story, and the fact that Karwinskis are, most often it's rare that you see a Karwinski on its own. Most of the time, they are part of a medley or an ensemble. That's where I've had them. That's why I said at the beginning, the brightness that I detected on the first pass on the nose was reminiscent to me of a Karwinski Espadín blend, or medley. I call them medleys. Ensembles to me are 3 or more plants. That's not what it's called on the label anyway. But there was a brightness that I had never detected in a Karwinski, and I've had a few. I've had a few at much higher ABVs. This falls right in line. Okay.
Yeah.
$100 all day long. Take my money.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
One of the things to keep in mind with Karwinskis is one of the reasons why they can be on a little bit more expensive than, say, like an Espadín, is because they have that woodiness. There's less sugar per plant per kilo, and they take longer to mature. So from Salvadores, they're saying that their Karwinskis are coming in around 13 years old before they're harvested, and then they're not getting as much per kilo as, say, with an Espadín. So it's a lot more labor, a lot more time, a lot more plants going into this bottle. So that's, they're not just charging you more because they can. There's a reason behind it.
Yeah, it's much more labor intensive, especially when you're just using that plant. And the amount of years you're talking about, I've heard Karwinskis, as old as 30 years.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm sure those are few and far between now because they're so popular. But and by and large, I would say the Karwinskis of their own, whoever's using that, tend to be that expensive. But they're worth every penny because the flavor profiles are so good and so different. Hey, Brand of Promise nominee,
great
category, by far this is a brand to watch. Okay. I know it's like a restart brand, but they got to start from ground zero somewhere. But I love this brand. I'm supposedly, according to their information that we have, I guess they're going to come up with a few more.
Yeah, according to their website, they have a tepestate and a tobola as well, and it looks like a reposado. So
now I'm
see those, that would be
we
interesting.
want them. We
Yeah.
want all of them. We want the whole line when they're ready. I'm going to tell them when I reach out to them again. They've been very nice. They're very approachable. They're here in my neck of the woods in Southern California. So congratulations to Salvador and Flor. They just this is a brand to watch. Okay, and this is why the brands of promise exist. Why Sipping Off the Cuff exists. This is exciting, Eric. We're one of the first ones to actually taste something from these folks, and I'm really impressed. Like I say, I'm surprised at the brightness that I experienced off this Karwinski, because I don't normally get that unless it's an ensemble or a medley, mixed with Espadín, because Karwinskis like that at that age are hard to find. They're just hard to find. Yeah. They're not there. They're not all over the place where you can harvest them, and they take so long to grow. Yeah. So, and like Eric's point, there's not a lot of sugar, and that comes out of there. So, but the flavor. Okay, last thing. What would we do with this? Do we just drink it straight? Do we put it in a cocktail?
I would drink it straight, but to your point, I was thinking about how you described it as sort of medicine. I think this would make like a really great toddy. Like if you're feeling under the weather, right? Pair it with a little bit of hot water, a little bit of honey, maybe a little bit of citrus, like a squeeze of orange, maybe a squeeze of like Meyer lemon, something like that. Like, again, medicine, right? I mean, obviously not really, right? But it's going to open you up. It's going to just like really kind of, if you got a sore throat, it'll probably have a nice soothing effect to it. But that was like my thought. I wouldn't, again, with the sort of brightness and with the grassiness, I'm sure in the hands of a more experienced bartender, I'm sure they could do something. But I would just enjoy it sort of on its own. Or you could do it with tonic. I could see tonic pairing well with the kind of herbal character, because tonic goes well with gin, right? Gin has that botanical intensity. So tonic, if you want, a toddy if you're feeling a little under the weather, as Omicron crisscrosses the country.
Wow, yeah. Anyway, it won't cure it, but maybe you'll feel better.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. What a great brand. This is really a dark horse. I'm telling you, brand of promise nominee in that category. Salvadores, go get it. Pay whatever it takes, get yourself a bottle. You're not gonna regret it. It's a beautiful rendition, a great expression of what is possible. And I don't mind, supporting people that want to bring back a craft, something part of their history. I'm all
and the legacy.
And their legacy. Help them out. That's what I'm going to tell you. It's worth every penny. That's our take on Salvadores. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That guy out there is
Eric Zandona in Crestview, Florida.
You've been watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media, all of our channels and networks. If you're watching us on YouTube or Spotify, hey, download download wherever you're getting your podcast. But if you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell, subscribe, unless you're afraid of commitment. Follow, give us a like, because that helps on the algorithm. And leave us a comment. Tell us what you're doing with it. If you've had it, what you're doing with it. Follow Easy Drinking on his Instagram. You can follow Tequila Aficionado on our Instagram. And whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.